Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do the When the War Comes Part 4, the Total Defense. I've really enjoyed this series. I feel like it is really thought provoking. And to be completely honest, I wasn't really sure. So I had the If the War Came and When the War Comes both on my list. And I thought it was a mistake on my part. Like, I thought that I had gotten confused when I had gotten it as a suggestion. Come to find out that obviously you all know it was two separate series. I didn't know that. I thought I made a mistake, but like I said last time, I'm going to end up doing both series because I've gotten suggestions or recommendations to look at both of them. So we're going to do this one and then the next one will be that one. I'm not really sure what the next week is going to look like. I have it's Thanksgiving, we're going out of town, but also I have a paper that I'm working on right now that is looking at, oh, it's essentially looking at drug use, but more specifically hallucinogenic or psychedelic drug use in the 60s and the role that it played on uh the counterculture movement, the anti-war movement, uh, things of that nature. The comparison I make, or kind of the way that I'm looking at it, is through the lens of prohibition in the 20s. So you have prohibition in the 20s. People drink, obviously, and it kind of is this weird thing where once people are doing something illegal anyway, or for prohibition it was illegal. For psychedelics in the 60s it's more of like a societal taboo, not necessarily illegal. But once people are doing that anyway, there tends to be this thing where they question more things, more of the societal rules and norms and things of that nature. So anyway, I'm doing this paper that's a deep dive into that specifically for the 60s and things that changed coming in or out of the 60s. And so I'm not entirely sure what my schedule is going to look like over the next week, but I'm going to get out as many videos as I can. It'll be this along the same lines. I'm sure I'll throw a weapon video or two out there. But I'm just giving everybody a heads up. But let's jump into it. When the War Comes, Part 4.
Arktis, gråzon, AI och soldater på marken. Men det civila samhället då? Hur förberedda är vi? När kriget kommer.
Som modelljärnvägsnörd då så blir man ju väldigt imponerad av den här järnvägsbron.
Det här är en modell över vårt moderna samhälle. Den används av Totalförsvarets forskningsinstitut för att enkelt och pedagogiskt visa cyberhot.
Jag har föreläst för många pedantiska och kritiska människor.
Här visar man hur vårt genomdigitaliserade samhälle kan störas ut och vilka konsekvenser det kan få.
I had heard that this is how, I have no idea if this is true or not, but I had heard that initially this is how, like, quote unquote hacking started, was through models like this. I don't know. I do not, guys, when I tell y'all that I'm not tech savvy, I'm so bad at tech stuff. I have people that have basically just carried me through even being able to do this channel. I'm pretty sure it took me like 4.5 hours to edit my first like 7 videos. Um, I just don't know enough about this stuff, but I had heard that was how basically that was how the concept of hacking was started, was through models.
Cyberangrepp. Du har en dator, jag har en dator. Jag vill på något sätt påverka dig eller din verksamhet genom att min dator ber din dator göra något som du inte vill att den ska göra eller som du inte vet att den ska göra.
Ganska små bus kan få katastrofala följder. Hackas vattenreningen blir hela kvarter magsjuka. Om någon ger sig på trafikljusen kan sjukhusens akutmottagningar snabbt fyllas. Och vad händer om en bro fastnar i upphissat läge på grund av skadlig kod?
Vi tror att cyberangrepp kommer att användas som ett komplement. Och man gör det för att underlätta för andra typer av operationer, för stöd till dem. Så det är inte något man använder helt isolerat och separat.
Cyberangrepp kommer inte bara att drabba Försvarsmakten utan även det civila samhället mot hela eller delar av landet. Det finns fler.
Yeah, I feel like the implications at a civilian level are more widespread. There are very specific uses for it militarily. Obviously, you would have things that, like, if you could hack a system or a satellite or a grouping of satellites or something of that nature, it would be beneficial militarily. But you could throw an entire society into total chaos if you did this on a large enough civilian level.
Flera sätt att förstöra, försvaga och göra en allmänhet riktigt illa. Att skada en civilbefolkning kan man göra på många olika sätt. Inte bara med vapenmakt, utan det kan handla om basalare saker. Inget att äta, ingen värme, inga kommunikationsmöjligheter, ingen information. Och just bristen på det basala tror man kommer kunna orsaka stora problem i våra framtidsscenarier som den här serien bygger på.
I talked about this last episode. If people showed up to the grocery store and there wasn't food there, well, what do y'all think happens? Because I think we could go back to pre-modern civilization in the snap of a finger. In the snap of a finger, people show up to grocery stores. There isn't food there. It's, because of some sort of internet or electricity thing. People don't know. I shouldn't say people generally. There are people who know how to, but a lot of people today, we have kind of lost the art of survivability on a large scale. Obviously, on smaller scales, it's still possible, but on a large scale, we've just totally lost that. And so, yeah, that could go bad quick. It could turn into the Wild West literally in the snap of a finger.
Det finns speciellt en känslig punkt som kan förändra mer än vad man först tror. Man kallar det just in time, det vill säga minimal lagerhållning av varor.
More people may know about this because of COVID, right? We have been doing, so a little peek behind the curtain here. I really, really, really like economics. People that have been around the channel for a while, I'm sure, know that. I really like economics. Economics, history, political science, those are kind of my realm. Now, I have other interests, but those are the things that I know a decent amount about, right? Just in time was something that had been argued against by everybody except for companies and shareholders forever. Forever. Since we've been doing it, there have been people saying this is potentially dangerous. Any any bump, any slight, anything in this system could throw the whole thing into chaos. Well, what we got was not a slight bump. Obviously, we got we got COVID, where everything is shut down. Supply lines are almost completely cut. And then you have all of these places that have been doing just in time, and they have nothing on their shelves. Like are not prepared. They have no inventory. It's not a it's certainly not a way to run things if you're trying to make the system more resilient, right? It saves money. That's why it's done that way.
Allt ska istället vara på väg mellan producent till konsument. Om transporterna bryts finns således inga varor att tillgå. Allt kommer att ta slut, och det snabbt.
Det är ju väldigt många försörjningskedjor, det är ju just in time, och i just in time-konceptet så ser man ju det med lager och förvaring och reserver och extra resurser som en onödig kostnad, och det gör ju att allt ska ju helst ligga direkt i produktion eller på lastbil mellan olika enheter. Och det är klart att en liten tuva stjälper ju ofta ett stort last då, och det är ju en risk för krisberedskapen.
Under den inledande fasen av coronakrisen så såg vi att alla ville åt samma typ av förnödenheter.
Att privatpersoner hamstrade varor är en sak, men det politiska samarbetet över gränserna då? Fungerade det?
Ni känner säkert till att flera EU-länder, bland annat Tyskland, Frankrike, Italien, Bulgarien, som en följd av pandemin infört exportrestriktioner på medicinsk skyddsutrustning. Någonting som vi från svensk sida har varit mycket kritiska till. Vi förstår såklart att det finns en oro, men också i den här allvarliga situationen ska vi ha en solidaritet mellan EU-länderna. Handel med medicinsk skyddsutrustning måste fungera.
Skulle det här eskalera till en ännu allvarligare?
Guys, you know this. I'm trying not to be too pessimistic, even though this is kind of a little bit of a more introspective, a little more of a downer type series. But we've seen historically groups, alliances, things of that nature. They are very easy to keep whenever things are relatively good. When things are going relatively well, it's easy to do that stuff, right? It's easy to say the right things. It's easy to trade the right goods or export or import, or say that you will go to the defense of a country or something of that nature. Once it kicks off, you very quickly can end up with a situation where everybody is looking out for themselves. Now, that sounds terrible. That sounds like the worst type of human nature. But I can kind of see the perspective from an individual country. If you're the leader of an individual country and something bad is happening, you answer directly to your constituents in the country. So I'll use the PPE example. If you are going to be short on PPE and you are exporting them, which I don't know exactly what the layout was of who had what, but just a general example here. If you're going to be exporting PPE during the pandemic, who are the people in your country, who are the healthcare workers going to go to once they run out, once they realize that it has still been exported? They're going to you as the leader of the country. So I sort of understand it, but again, we see historically this happen over and over. It's very easy to, give that rah, we're all in sort of stuff whenever things are relatively easy.
Samhällskris eller väpnat angrepp, krig, så kommer det här att innebära ännu större påfrestningar och konsekvenser på samhället.
Brist på sjukvårdsmaterial och brist på importerat livsmedel är en sak. Men det vi har själva då? Det vi är självförsörjande på? Vi har ju mängder med resurser inom landet. Odlingsbar mark och djur.
Vi är självförsörjande i princip på när det gäller spannmål, ägg och höns och lite till. Å andra sidan så är ju de produkterna även beroende av att traktorer har diesel, att vi har gödsel och andra insatsvaror till jordbruket. Så egentligen är vi ju inte självförsörjande på något.
Och i den inhemska produktionen är vi också helt beroende av att elektriciteten fungerar. Visst har lantbrukare reservelverk, men till dem behövs bränsle. Så det som händer om el och bränsle är borta under en längre period är bland annat att stora djurbesättningar kvävs på grund av att fläktarna inte fungerar i djurstallarna.
This isn't just Sweden. Almost, and maybe every country in the world is almost wholly dependent on other countries to, this is globalization. This is the modern economic system that we live in. Love it or hate it, it is what it is. The U.S. has a lot of energy resources, particularly fossil fuels. It could be self-sufficient in that way, but the energy markets are global markets for the most part. And so domestic production doesn't really do you much good, in a shortage. You're still buying and selling more or less all of the energy capacity, at least for fossil fuels, on the global market. That's the way that it works. But yeah, it's not every country is interconnected with every country. It's, everybody is reliant on basically everybody else for survival. And that was more it wasn't a bug, it was a feature. The idea is if you can pull everybody in, nobody will kind of go rogue, right? Because everybody's too dependent on everybody else. So even though you still do things your own way as a country, the chances of somebody going like full Third Reich are a lot lower, right? Because they're very dependent as a country on all of these other countries around the world. We've obviously seen that is more of a theoretical thing than a practical thing with the invasion in Ukraine, but that's the basic idea behind it. And so it's not just Sweden.
Om det centrala elnätet, om man kan släcka ner det på över tillräckligt stort område, då fungerar i princip ingenting längre. Vi förlorar belysningen, vi förlorar värmen, vi förlorar telekommunikation, vi förlorar sjukvården, vi förlorar lantbruket. Vi förlorar all typ av banktransfereringssystem. Utan elen så har vi inte längre ett fungerande samhälle.
Agreed.
Ett land som kämpar för att bara överleva är lätt att få dit man vill. Hur kompetent försvarsmakt man än har. När man varken kan, vill eller orkar försvara sig längre så är alla erbjudanden om en villkorad fred antagligen lätt att acceptera.
Det finns många delar i samhället som är av vikt för att man ska kunna leva ett normalt liv under drägliga former som vi är vana vid. Men det som ytterst är det som är viktigt utifrån mitt perspektiv, det är viljan att försvara landet, vår frihet och rätt att leva som vi själva väljer. När man bryter den försvarsviljan, då har man besegrat svenska folket. Och det är det vi vill undvika.
Försvarsmakten ensam kan bara stå för en del av det totala försvaret. Även det civila samhället måste vara robust. Och lägg därtill en hög försvarsvilja hos alla. Då blir det en bra så kallad tröskeleffekt.
En militär tröskeleffekt är någonting som Sverige som nation ska förse sig med. Och det är en totalförsvarsangelägenhet att ha det här. Tröskeleffekten hindrar en motståndare att bedriva verksamhet som han skulle vilja göra för att kostnaden och priset för att göra det här blir för stort.
Guys, this isn't new. War has changed. I'm trying to think of the quote from Jocko Willink. He's a former Navy SEAL commander. His quote is something along the lines of, as much as has changed and will change, at its very core, it's the same, has always been the same, and will always be the same forever. It's the same sort of idea here. I contend that, I read a lot of stuff about the U.S. impact of World War II. That's always a little bit funny to me because a lot of it's from an American perspective, and it's a lot of the U.S. won World War II, right? The U.S. is what turned the tide of World War II, all of that sort of stuff. It's kind of funny to me because I argue that the U.S. did have a massive impact in World War II. It was not with troops. It was not with armed forces, although they did play their role, obviously, in that realm. Their biggest impact by a mile was manufacturing capacity. It was the home front. It was the civilian world of the U.S. that carried a ton of the Allied war effort once the U.S. got involved in World War II. It's a huge deal. A civilian, population's capacity to defend itself, its want to, its will, its ability to manufacture, to produce, these are huge parts of whether a country is able to defend itself. That's all the quotes coming out of World War II were the wars of now and the future are totally dependent on manufacturing and, home front capacity, basically. It's a huge part of a country's ability to defend itself.
När vi talar om tröskeleffekt så kopplar vi egentligen det till innan kriget startar. Det vill säga vi ska se till att kriget inte kommer och det är det bästa försvaret. Vi ska genomföra operationer dagligen för att avvisa kränkningar, men vi ska även upptäcka olika övergrepp och angrepp i gråzonen. Men vi ska även se till att vi övar tillsammans med andra. Vi ska se till att de eventuella hot och angrepp, att vi möter dem direkt. På så sätt visar vi att vi har en vilja att försvara oss och det är ett avhåll eller ett angrepp.
I nästa avsnitt. Vad är egentligen värt att försvara?
I don't know, but the historical footage got me a little amped up for it. That was When the War Comes, episode 4, the total defense. Another great episode. Man, I really like this series. It has been incredible to watch. I'll get to the next part as quickly as I can. Like I said, bear with me a little bit over the next week or so, but I'll get out as many videos as I can. I won't be just dead all week. So, yeah, I'll get as many out as I can, and I'll see you all next time.